Hey, good afternoon or good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Nano in Action webinar on funding opportunities for nano-enabled lightweighting, organized by the Nanotechnology Industries Association. My name is Chiara Venturini, I'm the NIA Director General, and before handing over to our speakers for today's topic, I would like to take just a minute to very briefly introduce you to the NIA and our activities. Whoops, sorry, wrong. End of the slides, voila. Okay, sorry about that. So the NIA is a membership association based in Brussels with offices across Europe, and our mission is supporting nanomaterials commercialization from the research to the market rollout. And to do that, we support our members throughout the whole process, supporting them, first of all, in understanding what kind of regulatory requirements their products have to meet in order to be placed on the market, supporting them in boosting target user confidence in nanomaterial safety and performance, and also helping them in identifying the right target audiences, because as you know, and as we will see today, nanomaterials and nanotechnology solutions can have a broad range of applications in very different sectors. And in order to do this, we participate in a number of regulatory and policy fora, bringing the industry voice to the table. We provide a platform to our members so that they can position themselves vis-a-vis potential clients, but also importantly, reaching out to that part of the nano community that deals with the scientific and research part of the development of nanotechnology, so that the dialogue between the research community and industry can happen from the very early steps in the innovation process down to the industrial application identification and then the successful market rollout. And for this, we're very happy that our members are not only from the industry community. We represent, obviously, nanomaterials manufacturers and users, but also the providers of collateral services around the commercialization of nanomaterials, but also importantly, the research and innovation community with a number of universities and research institutes who are also part of the NIA family. I was mentioning earlier the regulatory and policy priorities. We do this via a continuous dialogue on one hand with our members to alert them to relevant developments and gather their point of view, and with decision makers on the other hand to, as I was mentioning, bring the industry voice to the table and ensure that the regulatory framework takes into account the industry needs and is predictable and stable. We also do communication activities for a broader target audience, and we have a number of documents that are accessible to the general public and that explain specific aspects of nanomaterials. A couple of the most recent ones are mentioned on the slides and can be found on our website. In terms of that platform that I mentioned earlier on, this webinar is a part of the Nano in Action series that looks at practical applications of nanomaterials. We also have another series called Nano in Business that looks at broader policy and trade developments that influence the development and growth of the nano sector. We organize an annual conference called the Symposium, and we also organize a Nano Pavilion exhibit booth in relevant trade shows. Of course, these activities have been paused over the last year, and most of what we do for the moment is still pretty much taking place online. And that's why I'm very happy that we have managed to grow our community to over 11,000 participants on LinkedIn. We are also members of a number of stakeholder groups, of which you see the Industry for Europe Coalition mentioned on this slide, as well as the Nano Safety Cluster on the bottom right-hand side of the slide. We are also partners in a number of EU-funded projects that you also can learn more about from our website. How to get involved? If you have not heard of this webinar through our newsletter, I would encourage you to register. It's a monthly newsletter. The next issue is out next week. You can join that LinkedIn community I was mentioning earlier on, and you can also follow us on Twitter. Of course, if you want to become involved at a deeper level, you can also consider membership. That allows you not only to have access to additional content, but also to really be part of setting the agenda for the association and deciding what kind of issues we should be championing on your behalf. Membership is open to all the different types of organizations that I mentioned earlier on. There are slight differences in the formulas depending on what kind of legal entity your organization is, but we would be happy to answer any questions you may have on that. My email address is mentioned on the slide, which you will receive after the meeting together with the other presentations. With that, I would like to hand over to our first speaker for today. I think I have stopped sharing my screen. Yes, so the first project that we will hear from today is OASIS, that will be presented by Roman Pajic from Amiris, who is one of the consortium members. So Roman, I will hand over to you whenever you are ready to share your screen.
Okay, thank you, Chiara. So hopefully you can hear me and also see me now.
Yes, yes, we can. What I would suggest to preserve bandwidth for those people whose connection may not be very good is that if the speakers want to turn on their cameras to introduce themselves, that's great. And then perhaps you can turn it off when you start your presentation.
Okay, no problem. I always find it better if people can associate the voice to a face, at least at the beginning. And then I'm happy to turn it off. So I'll try to share my screen here. So hopefully you can see it now. Let me make it full screen. So is that working?
It is, thank you.
Okay, good. Let me just make some small adjustment here. Okay, hopefully everything is working fine. I just need to adjust this Zoom thing. Just give me a moment. Yeah, okay, I'll just leave that as it is. So OASIS stands for Open Access Single Entry Point for Scale Up of Innovative, Smart, Lightweight Composite Materials and Components. And this is basically the structure of the presentation. So I will start with, let's say, describing the problem or the reason why we even, let's say, developed this project, what it is about, what are the pilot lines that it is offering, then the services that are on offer. So not only from the pilot lines, but also associated services. And then we have some examples. So we have two types of examples. One are showcases, which are, let's say, internal to the project and have been, let's say, a part of it from the very beginning. But the second type are the demo cases, which have been selected through the open call, because the open call in OASIS project has already been launched some time ago, and we already have a first batch of projects that we're developing together with third parties, basically. So the problem we are trying to address here is that composites and lighter metals like aluminium often have, let's say, insufficient properties and do not meet all of the requirements that are given, for example, by different directives and regulations. Nanotechnology is one of the answers to that, but it is not easily introduced in these materials. There is a lack of, let's say, in industrial scale manufacturing in terms of processes, but also in terms of quantities. So the upscaling hasn't really happened yet, and this is also linked to high cost of the products, for example, of the nanoparticles or the nano intermediate, which is a big barrier, especially for SMEs, of course. One of the other barriers is also that there often needs to be a very specific and tailored solution for each different application when it comes to the production process, the chemical composition of the materials and so on, and the, let's say, limited accessibility of different infrastructures and machines and pilot lines and equipment to, again, mostly SMEs. So these are the main bottlenecks which the industry is, let's say, facing today, and they need also specialized expertise in nanotechnology, which has lots of, let's say, specific attributes, like, for example, the considerations for nano safety. The investment costs for production facilities are too high, and until we came up with OASIS, we could say that the RTOs or universities often do not offer those facilities or the services linked with the expertise they have in order to cover the full value chain that the, let's say, companies or the industry might need. There is also, let's say, lack of information and guidance, and companies, if it's, for example, the smaller companies or even startups, they often require also support in terms of optimizing their business plan or accessing additional finance, be it public or private. So this is where OASIS comes in, as it is an ecosystem of 12 nanotechnology manufacturing pilot lines, providing, let's say, 3 scales of products, in case of, well, nanomaterials, nano intermediates, and nano-enabled products, but also associated services for the development of lightweight multifunctional products based on aluminum and polymer composites. So talking about the 3 different scales of what the pilot lines have to offer. So as I said, we have 12 of them. So you can see on this slide, so that 3 are dedicated to different types of nanoparticles. For example, for thermal insulation, in the case of the aerogel panels that are being produced by pilot line number 1. I'll pull out my laser pointer here. We also have, for example, magnetic and flame retardant nanoparticles. Then on the intermediate scale, there are, again, intermediate products like bucky papers, for example, that can have, that can improve electrical properties, can also act as heating elements. Or we have pilot line number 7, which can embed the products with large-scale printed electronics. And at the component scale, these pilot lines are basically integrating the products of the previous pilot lines in different, let's say, production techniques. So this is how we structure our offering. So the pilot lines, as I mentioned before, we also complement that with product process engineering, with design, modeling, and simulation services, testing and characterization, and also sustainability of the production, also in terms of the nano safety that I was talking about. So covering the full value chain for new product development, also complemented by business support services. So those can range from, let's say, establishing the business model, helping with the value proposition, getting access to further financing, but also, for example, dissemination and marketing support. This is the consortium. So it's a consortium of 20 partners, but let's see, some of them, like Ford or Acciona, are active as the end users. So let's say the Open Innovation Testbed is a consortium of 13 service providers. So now for the examples, just so that you know what kind of sectors we are covering and what types of projects we are already developing. So these are the showcases. So those are the partners that are already part of the project from the beginning. So for example, with Thales, we are developing a smart battery casing for aircrafts that have, let's say, that are safer because they can detect thermal runaway through smart sensors, but they are also lighter and yeah, safer, lighter, and smarter, let's say. But you can see that we've got the aerospace, automotive, and building or construction or civil engineering sector in here. But with the demo cases that we have selected through the open call, this is the first batch of them. We have enlarged the scope of the different application areas quite a lot. So we also have railway industry, space industry, even sports equipment in here. So that's the case of Decathlon, which is a good example of a company we're working with, or for example, Trixel, which OASIS is supporting in creating a new portable X-ray imaging detector. So how can you engage with OASIS if any of this is of interest to you? So we have our next and also the last cutoff date in the open call very soon, actually, in 2 weeks. So at the end of July. I would recommend that you, let's say, check out all the information. I will have all of the important links on the next slide. But of course, you can also reach out to us to ask specific questions. So some basic information about the open call is that the duration of these demo cases, so of these projects, is a maximum of 6 months. What you get is free access to the services. So there is no direct financing, but free access. So including of course the effort that we put in, some consumables, materials, for example, used at the pilot lines, and access to the machine hours, if you will, access to the equipment and infrastructures. All types of organizations are eligible, so it's not only for companies, but also research institutions or universities or even public bodies. And the application is done by what we think is quite a simple application process, so a 5-page proposal. An important point is down here. We encourage all the applicants who would be considering applying to get in touch with us first to really check whether the idea they have is technically feasible, but also, let's say, interesting from the business side. We're happy to discuss any ideas you might have. Well, and this is the last slide with the most important links and contact information. So I guess this presentation will be shared with everyone after this event. So just to summarize, we are offering the possibility to use a combination of different pilot lines and associated services. And we are doing this through an ecosystem which is operated by a single entry point. So you don't have to run from one pilot line to another to get what you need. And we are open to companies of any size, or not only companies, and in a wide range of industries. And that's it for me. So thank you for your attention, and I'll be looking forward to any questions later on.
Thank you very much, Roman. And yes, just to confirm, all the slides will be sent to the participants afterwards. So if you didn't have time to note all those links down, don't worry, you will receive the slides. With that, we will take questions at the end. So I will suggest that we move on to the next project. And I would like to welcome Professor Luca Magagnino from the Politecnico di Milano, who's here with his hat as coordinator of the LightMe project. And who is already, oh, he's super ready. Okay, brilliant. Then floor is yours, and thank you.
Thank you for the kind invitation, and good afternoon to everyone. Okay, I will introduce you the LightMe project. Just a second. Okay. So, LightMe project, which is part of the Open Innovation Testbed project, is specifically dedicated to light metallic alloys. So we talk about aluminum alloys, magnesium alloys, and titanium alloys. Why these alloys? Because there will be, of course, there is already a huge interest towards these alloys for let's say many applications, aircraft, trains, any other application. But there is also a growing interest in developing, let's say, better performing alloys, and LightMe project is exactly focused on this aspect. We are 25 partners, 15 countries, and Politecnico di Milano is the coordinator. You see on the left, we are, let's say, well distributed across Europe. What do we want to do with these light alloys? Actually, the main aim is to implement pilot lines available among the partners from a lower TRL to a higher TRL, producing lightweight metal alloys composites. So basically, we want to introduce nanoparticles of different kinds into the materials, into the sourcing alloys, in order to provide, let me say, generally speaking, new functionalities to these composite alloys. What does it mean, new functionalities? But the first point is for sure mechanical properties. So in principle, you can produce objects using less materials because the composite material will provide better mechanical resistance, for instance, but not only. According to the nature of the particles, you can also provide, for instance, antibacterial properties, and so the idea is, let's say, wider with respect. The aim is wider with respect to only mechanical properties. Of course, as the other, we are in the open innovation testbed, let's say, ecosystem, and so all the partners, but also, let's say, all the clients nowadays in contact with us, or so the partner, the companies, research institute, any entity that wants to be in contact with us should be aware of the fact that they will become part of an ecosystem. Ecosystem means a lot of advantages in receiving many, let's say, or to have the possibility to be in touch with many expertise about facing and say having the possibility to talk with different actors in the same field of the lightweight alloys, but it means also sharing of part of the knowledge, and so this is an important point to clarify with all the actors involved in this project. Why composite? I have already said, for sure, the composites, the idea of the composite is present in many technology fields, and in the case of light alloys produced by a metallurgical plant, let me say, is of course an important part of this market. As you see here, we have selected, or we have the availability of 6 pilot lines. That means that we have already actually implemented these pilot lines in order to make them capable to produce composite alloys. And the interesting point is that we can go from more traditional lines like die casting to let's say additive manufacturing processes. So we have a metal wire additive manufacturing and a powder system for additive manufacturing. This last point of the additive manufacturing is of course of great interest, but also is a real challenge, because especially for some materials, have in mind aluminum, titanium, or even magnesium, this is a very important development to introduce not only the composite, but let's say even the material itself into an additive manufacturing system. Of course, we offer the possibility to be in touch with the pilot lines together with many other services. Some of them are reported here. So thanks to the experience in the implementation of the pilot lines, we can offer experience and expertise in all the monitoring systems, in the testing of the material, in modeling, because an important part of the project is also how to introduce the particles in the different plants, and so how to optimize the distribution in the final component. And so simulation is fundamental. And then, let's say, other services, let's say, not less important with respect to the others. So we call it innovation management, so business plan, marketing, technology transfer. So we pay a lot of attention to the IP protection, and this is always discussed with the partners that will be in contact with us. And also the last part, dealing with the nano materials, of course, regulation, standards, and health and safety. We have already mentioned the aim of the LightMe in terms of composite within the project, and so with the partners of the project, some test cases have been selected. You see here some example and some partners involved in this, and so we have also the synthesis of specific materials and particles that can be also used for the for instance, for providing the materials for the additive manufacturing plants. You see some other example. We go from some parts of the cars, aircraft, and also door knobs, for instance, that you see on the right part on top of the slide. In this case, for instance, the door knob is the example of a composite material, aluminum material, with titanium particles. An important point is for sure the open call. We have already started the open call. The open call, as already mentioned, is an important step to offer to say number of let's say new partners for the project the possibility to be in contact with all the services and to provide their ideas and to try to demonstrate the possibility to realize their idea through our pilot lines and all the other services that we have. All the details are reported here. You see the link at the bottom of the slide. I think what is more important is that we have already launched the open call at the beginning of this year. We have already done the first evaluation, so some test cases are already ongoing, let's say have already started and are ongoing. Of course, they are open to any entity, so small, medium enterprise, research centers, and so on. There will be a second cutoff by the end of August, then the evaluation in order to conclude all these selection basically by the end of this year. Also, in our case, the suggestion is to be in touch with us first, and you see here the link and also the link to the website where you can find all the information and the let's say the template for the application to the open call, so we can also support all the who wants to submit its idea. We can support all of them in order to, let's say, draft the best submission. So thank you for your attention, and of course at the end I will be available for questions.
Many thanks, Luca. I would suggest, because we still have two other interesting projects, that we continue with the next presentation. So I would like to introduce Maria Taxiarchou, who is Associate Professor at the National Technical University in Athens, and presenting today the LightCoCe project. So Maria, I think you're on mute, and whenever
yes.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. Just a moment to just a moment to see my presentation. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I hope that you can see my presentation. Okay. So I will present you the LightCoCe project. This is another OITB project. From this project, we have established our single entry point, the LightCoCe SEP. It was established very recently in the form of a spin-off company with headquarters in Athens. The aim of this LightCoCe is to provide holistic services for the development of novel concepts in the field of lightweight, concrete, conventional, and advanced ceramics, and to cover in one-stop shop all the value chain from the upscaling of the new products, materials, or technology up to their commercialization. The LightCoCe network consists of 16 partners, 16 organizations with a complementary expertise, forming a very strong network of competencies along the whole value chain of LightCoCe, lightweight, concrete, and advanced and conventional ceramics. At this stage, as a LightCoCe European funded project, the consortium, a part of the 16 partners of the SEP, comprises of other 10 industrial partners, which have, let's say, provided the first 8 test cases to the consortium, to the SEP, for them to facilitate the establishment of the ecosystem and also the validation of this, of the services that are provided by the SEP. And also through this project, the open call for new test cases is funded, and I will present you in detail also the services and the open call. These are all the services and the partners that are providing its service. Our ecosystem has includes 5 pilot lines, pilot scale facilities. And of course, we are providing services on the characterization, on the modeling, which is very important, either modeling of the products, but also of the processes that are developed, on standardization and regularity and safety issues, and of course, the innovation management with the experiences related to development of business plan and market studies and facilitate on the technology transfer. The 5 pilot lines cover 3 different thematic areas. First, in the area of concrete, we have 2 pilot lines. One established in NTUA and the other concerning the smart concrete and lightweight concrete, and the other one in RISE for the development of cellular lightweight concrete. In the case of the conventional ceramics, there are 2 pilot lines, one concerning pressed ceramics in ITC, and the other for extruded lightweight ceramics in THN in Germany. And the last pilot line covers the area of advanced ceramics, and it is established in Inop in Poland. The aim here is of the services that these pilot lines provide is to the production of the materials, to the development of the materials in a scale closer to the industrial, and to succeed to cover the gap between the lab scale development and the full scale production. The services cover both the conventional materials in each of these sectors, but also materials with special requirements, lightweight or additional nano-enabled functionalities. And our goal is to provide in a pilot scale all the measurements and the monitoring that that a lab scale, let's say, facility can provide, and with the same accuracy. The complementary services, as I said, they cover the characterization and the certification of the new products, modeling either at the scale of processed or material, standardization, regulatory and safety assessment, and innovation management, business modeling and planning, marketability assessment, and services concerning IPR. Now we have launched our open call a month ago. The open call is addressed to companies operating in the field of concrete or ceramics and are interested in developing new ideas within the area of lightweight and advanced materials. These services will be provided free of charge because they are covered within the LightCoCe project. And the idea is here to give the opportunity to the applicants to develop new business ideas, benefit from these free of charge services provided by LightCoCe. The open call is addressed to, of course, all organizations working in this field of concrete and ceramics, but an emphasis will be given to the SMEs and smaller, let's say, size companies that do not have the budget and the infrastructure for the development of new ideas, new products, and of course to large enterprises and also R&D organizations legally established in an EU member state or an associated country. When the SEP will operate as an individual entity, then the services will be open to all organizations independently of their of the country of establishment. But now, as this is as if easy funded project, we thought that it would be better to focus on these countries. Of course, why an organization will come to ask for our services? First of all, they are at this stage free of charge, and they will have the opportunity to receive mentoring and support from highly experienced experts in this field, and they will have the opportunity to innovate and develop their idea through a one-stop shop. How they can apply? The open call was launched through the LightCoCe online platform. It was launched at the beginning of June, and the application period will be open until the end of the year. We have not, as the launch was very recent, we have not evaluated the first proposals. This will be done at the end of the summer holidays, at the end of August, and so we will select the first test cases, and then later towards through November, December, we will evaluate the rest of the applications. We have set some eligibility criteria. First of all, is the field of expertise of interest of each test case, the type of entity with the prioritization I said before, the country of establishment of the interested entity, the maturity of the proposed technology. We are mainly providing scale-up services, but here time and cost needed for the implementation is also an issue, and these three, let's say, criteria are all working together because the time available is limited. Each case, the duration of each case should be 6 to 8 months because they have to finish before the end of the project, and also the budget available in each partner of the ecosystem for these test cases it is limited. So the maturity and the time needed is an issue here. And of course, a final criterion is the innovation potential and the industrial relevance. Based on these eligibility criteria, we have formed our evaluation criteria, which are, of course, the relevance to the objectives of the call and the field of expertise of our ecosystem, the maturity of the project, of the idea. We need a starting TRL of about 4 to 5, the time and the resources that are required, the innovation potential, and of course, the business viability of this idea. The application, the submission of the application will be made through the LightCoCe platform. First, the entity, the interested entity has to register in our platform to submit some provide some general information about the entity and the official representative of this entity. And then, of course, they have to identify which of the services they require, they need for their test case, give some general features for the test case, and then provide some more detailed information concerning the concept of the idea, some milestones that have been achieved so far, which are the required, of course, services and the technical work plan, which, of course, these will be formulated and finalized together with the partners of the ecosystem that they'll work on the specific idea. And of course, it is important in order to submit their idea, they have to, let's say, sign the data privacy policy. So this is the platform, photo, let's say, of the platform, the LightCoCe platform to be used for the application. And here. And here's some addresses that you can find more information about the open call. And of course, here you can find also, you can call us also for any questions that you have on any help that any entity needs for the submission of their application. So these are from my side, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you will have.
Thank you very much, Maria. Thanks a lot. So last but not least, we will have the LeeBed project that will be presented by Dr. Zachary Davis from the Danish Technological Institute. And whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you.
Yours.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Yes, so my name is Zachary James Davis. I'm coordinating the LeeBed project and also team manager at the Danish Technological Institute. LeeBed is this open innovation testbed for development and production of nanomaterials for lightweight embedded electronics. So it's all about electronics. So maybe I just start out with what is sort of the idea of lightweight embedded electronics. So the idea is that standard electronics is that we've been using for the past, I don't know, 40, 50 years, based on PCB technology, printed circuit board technology, is quite rigid, quite bulky. It's using a lot of materials and etching and deposition processes, which is expensive and not very sustainable. This is what we're looking at the picture now. This is a standard temperature logging system with the NFC communication capabilities, a battery, electronics, etc. So what we want to do is go to something that looks more like this, where everything is sort of integrated on a foil, in this case, a polyethylene PET foil. We have the same electronics, but much more compact. We have a battery system, which is also flexible. So this is going to make products easier to gain electronic functionalities by making these sort of lightweight, but also very flexible and maybe even sometimes stretchable formats. So in order to be able to do this, we need not just one, but many collaboration of many experts that are working on a variety of different activities within the value chain. So this is why LeeBed was commenced, and this is what we're working towards. So LeeBed is a single entry point where we're trying to sort of make a one-stop shop for people that are interested in getting involved with printed or flexible embedded electronics. We have of course, a website which is acting as a single entry point, very similar to the rest of the projects. Once we get into the single entry point, we have a three-phase sort of procedure going first on a techno-economic modeling phase, where we try to say, so okay, we discuss with the customer, we look at the idea, what is feasible, what is not feasible, where on the are we doing upscaling, are we doing a proof of concept. We're trying to answer all these questions, and we can also provide a lot of different usable preliminary non-technical services which will be very helpful for the customer. Once we have done this and we're ready to go to the lab, we have, of course, quite a few pilot lines, and then we do a pilot project where we get into the lab and get to do some real hands-on work. And in the end, we can also help the customer sort of transfer the knowledge into, how do we get to the market from here? There's quite a few partners. We're 13 services and pilot line providers spread across Europe. So this is just telling you what to look at, giving you a glimpse of the different partners we have. Another thing you see here is that in the phase 2 pilot projects, we have 3 different types of pilot lines. We have nanomaterial pilot lines. We have formulation, so making inks, adhesives, composites that are have electronic functionalities, and we have a component pilot line. So that means printing and other types of equipment that can actually make prototypes and components. On top of that, we have these phase 1 and phase 3, which we'll go into detail in a few minutes. In order to sort of facilitate the development of the pilot lines and services, we have 4 end user applications, which represent 4 very different application areas. We have Swarovski working with wearables and sort of decorative surfaces. We have Maya working with automotive parts, plastic parts inside and outside the automotives. We have Graphiatic working with packaging and labeling. So they want to do smart labeling, of course. And Acciona working with construction. So the idea with all these cases, we're trying adding electronic functionalities to all of these different application areas in one way or another. So in the techno-economic assessment phase, which is the phase 1, this is what happens right when you enter the single entry point. We have a variety of different non-technical and I guess also a technical services. The first one is, of course, quite important, a technical assessment. We try to figure out together with the customer what can be done, what technical solutions can we provide to the customer. This is a mandatory assessment that needs to be done before we go into the pilot lines. We can also then provide different types of other, which are very valuable services. For example, looking at the safety assessment, looking at the materials and the processes. How are there any safety or regulatory issues there that we should be aware of? We can look at the economic part. How much would these things cost? What would be the cost, the production or material costs once we have a prototype or even an upscaled production? What is the life cycle estimate? What's the sustainability of the processes and materials we're looking at? That's quite important for a lot of companies nowadays. Patent mapping. So what is the landscape? Has the idea been done? Is it been produced by someone else or patented by another company? Where of these other patents are, etc. And finally, last but not least, we have a pilot projects of financial support. That means for companies that need financial support going and accessing the pilot lines, we can help them do that as well. As I said before, the pilot projects, we have 3 types of pilot lines: nanomaterials, nano-enabled formulations, and printed and embedded components. So just a very, very quick overview of the some of the technologies we have. I'll tell you where to get more information at the end of the talk. So in terms of the nanomaterials, we are working with quite a few technologies. One of them, the solid thermal batch process. So actually, in this case, we're working both on doing rapid development of new materials, but also we are actually showing the way how to scale these up into upscaled production volumes as well. So not just going, just doing development, actually developing the technology to scale up these processes as well. And that means that we have quite a lot of reactors, both small and large. We can produce up to kilos a day of certain materials, and everything is usually PLC automated with inline processing, etc. Just to give you some examples, some of the materials we've been working with within LeeBed. So nano copper, nano silver, silver nanowires. We also have copper nanowires, which is not here, something very, very new. Silver on carbon support, so hybrid materials we've been looking at, dielectric materials, magnetic, and many, many more. So if there's any very specific material, application you're looking at, just come to us and we can try to figure out what to do. We also have direct writing of nanomaterials with the VS Particles. A Dutch startup which is working on how to make a machine that can directly sort of generate particles in a gas phase and then write them directly on the substrate. And here you could do, both materials, but also you can do alloys. You could do lots of different things here. And this is very good for, I would say, sensor applications, for gas sensing, or even biochemical sensing applications. It could also be used for screening, etc. And you can see a little video there of the machine writing nanomaterials on the glass substrate. If we go to the formulation, some of the pilot lines, one of the main issues and the main challenges we're trying to tackle in LeeBed is the development of new products. Usually this takes quite a long time. It's very tedious, a lot of work, especially because the idea is that you take some materials, you mix them together, and it doesn't work. Then you do it again and you do it again. So the idea is trying to really streamline these processes through AI and robotic systems. So this is an example of that. We're taking some of the copper we made in some of the materials. We did a design of experiments where we're trying to find the optimal sort of dispersion recipe for adding some copper particles with a solvent and a binding system in order to really get a really good inkjettable ink. This is just some of the nice things we've done here. And then here, of course, what we've been able to do is actually successfully, in a very small, short amount of time, provide recipes for very, very well formulated inkjet inks that are made of nanoparticles of copper. If we look at the component pipelines very, very quickly, we have, of course, both prototyping, and these are based mostly on digital inkjet or 3D printing technologies. And then, of course, we have the more production lines where we go to a scale up to roll-to-roll or sheet-to-sheet lines as well. And this we also have. And we have both rotary screen print, regular screen print, flexible verb printing. We also can do roll-to-roll mounting, etc., and also large format inkjet printing. So quite a lot of technologies we have in the printing of and making of components. Just to give you some examples of some of the sort of results coming out. This is a invisible electronic panel which we made together with one of our end users, Swarovski. So you can see here on the right hand. Left hand side, it's a PET, it's a piece of plastic, and on top of that is the PET foil with a invisible electronic panel on it. And you can see these 5 dots. These are actually LEDs that are lighting up. And if you see here, this is it's laying on the table, and then we have integrated some touch sensors and some LED lighting in this. And as you can see, it's virtually invisible. You cannot see the electronics. And this is based on, so in order to be able to do something like this, we had to go all the way down to, okay, we developed some we developed silver nanowires. Then we formulate them in a specific type of ink that we could coat onto the PET foil. And we had to invent a new sort of, or at least to optimize a new sort of machining process in order to make the electronics without being able to see it. So this is something that's a very nice innovation, and it's something we're working quite a lot together with Swarovski. Another one of the challenges we've had is together with Acciona, and they're working with the construction. So what they really want to do is embed a lot of sensors into their construction, and this is a composite construction. And you can see here the big problem is a lot of wiring. This is what they usually do, but what we're doing is then making some sort of compact wireless IoT sort of components that are injected inside the composite construction components they're working with, that they can then give a lot of information like temperature, strain, other types of things in real time wirelessly. This is something we're working quite a lot with. Phase 3, and this is something that we have just started working with, but it's more trying to figure out what to do when we're done with the pilot projects. So we're talking about IPR and patenting, standardization, business planning, and investor capital. So also getting companies involved, or at least in helping them, find investor capital if they need that. If you want more information about the technologies we have, please visit our website, our YouTube channel. We have a lot of different webinars. So we also have some PDFs that are very nice to get a more overview of all of the different technologies we have. And then, of course, last but not least, we have this open call, just like the other projects. So 10 phase 1 assessments free of charge. So what you have to do is go to the LeeBed website, and it's quite simple. There's some very simple sign up. You have to answer 3 very small, short questions. And then we get an email, and then we contact you and we start to discuss what we can do. We are now accepting applications, and we will do this until the end of September, and then we'll sort of make a review, and we'll pick 10 of these submissions for an assessment, a free assessment, and we'll work onto that until the middle of next year. Yeah. So that's just, And so again, this is sort of just recapping what we've already said. Go to the website. We have the review process in October. Then we'll notify you and start probably at the end of this year or beginning of next year, as soon as we actually would like to. I mean, the sooner the better in our case. We'll start the certain projects, and after that, we can also start to do a phase 2 and 3 project as well. So with that, I would say thank you for listening, and I'm happy to answer questions in the next session. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Zachary, and thanks again to all the speakers. I think we can now just very simply go into the Q&A session. So I just wanted to invite anyone who has a question to unmute yourself, or alternatively, you can type your question in the chat box.
Hi, Chiara. Just a really quick question here. I wouldn't expect every speaker to answer it, but maybe if Roman and one of the others could answer it. What about the IP for companies participating in one of the projects? Is the IP going to be owned by the company whose project it is, or is there going to be some need for the IP to be shared?
Maybe if you want, I can start answer your question. I'm Luca. Is that okay, Chiara?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Absolutely. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that is an important point we have discussed a lot within the LightMe project. Of course, there is the issue is mainly related to the new partners, the new company or the new entity in contact with the single entry point. In this case, we have, let's say, a preliminary format even for the open call, just to protect the IP from, let's say, each part. But actually, we have already in place some forms. We have a legal, let's say, company within the partners that was very useful to discuss these points. And of course, there will be the possibility that the company will own its, let's say, IP derived from the project. But if in the use of the services of the ecosystem, there will be an important contribution coming from the partners, so from the pilot lines involved, there will be an agreement since the beginning about sharing the IP, and so this discussion will be done first before the starting of the project. Okay, so there will be an agreement at the beginning in order to share to understand what could be shared and what not could be shared. And sorry, in this case, the single entry point, so the new entity will be the owner of the IP.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if any of the other speakers wanted to also address this point.
Okay, the only thing I would like to add is that one of the first things that when we start discussing a possible test case or a new, let's say, project, is to sign an NDA between the client, say the interested entity, and the ecosystem and the SEP, in order to start, because this is needed also to start formulate the work program and how this project will be implemented. And of course, what Luca said is, yes, it's for sure. Yes, this is how we will handle any new project.
Yeah, I can also say in terms of the LeeBed, we have discussed this also quite extensively, and I think, I mean, the bottom line, we are. I mean, this is usually done by case, determined by the collaboration between the client and the LeeBed single entry point. And but in general, we do have some standard terms and agreement that is sort of, what we would in general do, and that means usually that means IP generated by LeeBed partners, is for doing a specific process or material or whatever. This, of course, we need to have freedom to operate. This is important for the partners to be able to learn more expertise, right? But the actual products that are being developed, that is of course owned by the client. That's sort of the main thing we are looking into. But of course, it's always up to negotiation. So that is and this is probably case by case.
Thank you. Roman, I don't know if you wanted to add anything for OASIS.
I think it's quite similar to the other projects. So yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to see if anyone else has any other questions.
If not, Chiara, I have another have another question, if I can, for LeeBed, for Zachary.
Yes.
Interested very much in the sort of printed electronics. That looks really interesting, sort of using, for example, copper nanomaterials. I was just wondering if you needed to do any post-printing process, any form of sintering.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
conductivity.
So with the copper, that's extremely important, actually. You once you've done the printing, you do usually a drying step to get rid of solvents, and then you need to do a sintering step. And there's a few ways to do that. What we're trying to do is what we really like to do is do a sintering, just a standard thermal sintering or a NIR sintering, which can work in some cases. But we can also do something called a photonic, xenon flash lamp sintering, which is sort of a high power light, and it's quite quick, but it also does the job. So yeah, these are the ways to do it. And usually you have to have some, if you really want to protect against oxidation, perhaps some sort of top coating is also preferable. Does that answer your question? I hope.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely perfect. That's
Okay,
absolutely
great.
perfect.
Great. But yeah.
Yeah, it's James here. I was wondering about the uptake in these projects. They're all different sectors being covered, and really nice things going on. But how much uptake are you getting, and how many applications are there from say SMEs or from larger industry, that kind of thing? how well advertised, in fact, are these projects and opportunities?
So I think in the LeeBed, we're I mean, I would say SMEs are special interest because, you know, these are usually the type of entities that don't have a lot of infrastructure at their disposal. And then in this case, it's really, you know, one of the biggest challenges for that is getting, you know, helping them with financing, because I think a lot of them don't have, you know, a lot of strong financial backing. But of course, you know, we're always open to I mean, I think and it's probably the same with the other projects, you know, all sorts of organizations, all sort of stakeholder types is of course welcome to discuss. But in principle, yeah, I mean, SMEs and large industries is in our case probably the main what we're trying to target, but we're open to others as well.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a very nice opportunity especially for SMEs, as you say, large organizations. That's sort of Philips, BASF, they have their own infrastructure, so they don't really need that. But SMEs definitely need help. We've seen this in other projects. Okay, thanks.
Maybe if I could just add from OASIS's perspective, we can see that there is quite a big interest also from large enterprises. As you've seen, we've got companies like Trixel or Decathlon, like outside of the project, asking for our services. I think that comes down to the uniqueness of the pilot lines that we have, because the, let's say, test before invest principle is the same for small companies just as well as the big ones. So the infrastructures we have are so unique that, you know, even these big corporations don't have access to them.
Okay. If that's the case, will these sort of combinations, which together make up the test beds, will they still exist after the project's finished? Do you intend to keep them going in some way or other?
That's the idea. That's actually the purpose of these projects as well, to, let's say, set it up for future sustainability, and also the purpose of these open calls that we are having, that we validate that this actually works, and let's say test it for the let's say sustainable future without public funding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, I don't know if anyone else wanted to ask questions, or maybe they had forgotten to unmute themselves. Just going to give it a few more seconds for people to check their microphones. All right, otherwise, I think we can gently wrap it up. I would like to thank again very much the speakers who took their time this afternoon, all the participants. And just to confirm, we will send you all the relevant information on the events page on the NIWA website. You also have the hyperlinks to each specific project website in case you want to refresh your memory on the cutoff dates for the different calls. The recording of this webinar will also be made available on the NIA YouTube channel. And just a last reminder that on our website, you can also register for the newsletter. The next issue goes out next week. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a good rest of the day. And if you still have to take them, nice summer holidays. Bye.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.